Hey, I'm Tyra. I am a certified life coach and Christian coaching specialist. Joining me today is Kristen. She's an executive coach and a leadership coach. And we were talking the other day about how to best support our clients since we're in similar fields with coaching. And just what kept coming up for us was moving forward. How do we move forward during this time? It's just very confusing. Nobody really knows what's next. So we wanted to put together a video for you guys of specific ways to move forward. So if you have any questions while we're doing this video, feel free to put them in the comments and we'll reply.
Yeah. So I'm excited because in our conversation, we talked a lot about just where we're at today and how people can move forward. And one of the things I'll say is be sure to wait till the end and hang on because we're going to give you some incredible tools to be able to start using right now, today, to be able to move forward. And then also some other resources as well. But one of the things we talked about when we were discussing moving forward was just that in order to do that, we first have to acknowledge just where we've come from and where we're at, right? It's actually when we are just kind of refusing to acknowledge and look and process those things where we really get stuck. But really what we're in the middle of is kind of just the mental energy of the extreme amount of change that we've all gone through this year. And there are specific stages that we go through when we are going through change and how our brains lay new pathways to do that, which is why it's just sucking the mental energy, right? Everything feels challenging because everything just feels like so much extra work, right?
Sure.
You were giving some examples a little bit of that.
Right, you have to think about wearing your mask and taking your hand sanitizer. Should we go to the park? Should we go to the grocery store? Things that you never had to think about before. Hanging out with friends, hanging out with family, that was always life-giving. It gave you energy, but now it kind of can give you anxiety. Do I need to do this? Don't I need to? It's just very confusing. So things that used to be simple or fun are no longer simple and fun.
Yeah.
So it makes things really complicated. And so we just have to acknowledge.
Even down to someone the other day, they came over are you hugging, right? Or someone even said to me, they're like,
Right.
I forgot to ask if you're hugging or not. We even have to say those things now, and that is right. It's hard, it's challenging, when you are having to do that. And so that's a little bit of where we've been at. And then kind of one of the other things that's been hard is when we all kind of hit this in March, right? And in April, it was very much just we're going to shut down for a little bit, right? But then we'll be back open in a month or a couple weeks, 2 months tops, right? Conversations I was having with clients were all well, we're having to pause this, but when we get back in the office later on in the summer or in the fall, we'll probably get back into that initiative once things are back to normal. And then summer hit, right?
Right. It's not going anywhere. We're still doing this, and now we are into fall. And so we have to accept that this is our current situation.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's happening. This isn't going anywhere. It's not temporary. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we're going to be doing this for a lot longer than any of us thought. There isn't an exact end to it. There's no more if we just quarantine for this amount of time or we just wear masks for this amount of time. It's just not that simple. So we have to figure out how to move forward even in that. And you were talking about one problem that we all have is that we don't like uncertainty.
Yes.
Because we don't know when this is going to end.
Yes. Uncertainty is actually where we really get stuck, right? We need to understand where we're at and when we get to actually get better. We want a new normal. And that's a very common thing to want, is we need a new normal. And because things are so open-ended, we feel like we can't actually put any type of target rather than a date, right? Most people are okay, give me a target, anything to hit where I can know. And instead, it's this ambiguity and it's so uncertain. And so I've seen a lot of people manufacturing a certainty through it. I've seen a lot of people post when is this going to be over? Is it going to be the election? Is it going to be 2021? Is it going to be? The thing is, we don't know. We can speculate all of those things, but even if things do start to get better, right, by the end of the year or going into next year, we have no idea what that's going to look like from a global standpoint, right? So there's no telling when things are totally going to go back. I've seen a lot of people talk a little bit about 9/11 and how it's similar to that, and that there was a distinct difference between what was going to the airport before 9/11.
Right.
There was no, okay, let's just go back to, when do we get to go back to doing the airport experience? No, there have been shifts and changes through that. And so I think that's what we're going to see. And we just don't know how it's all going to unfold yet. And that's hard. And when we get there is when we get stuck. So we've got to be able to figure out how to move forward. And a lot of part of that is actually being willing to move forward in uncertainty, being willing to move forward without having all of the answers.
Yeah, we can't just stay stuck. That's really not an option anymore. Everybody's kind of stalled out or tried to wait for the next thing, but we just can't stay there. So now we have to figure out how to make new goals. To move forward, we need new goals. So how do we have a fresh start mentally? Ultimately, we've all figured out that our January goals probably aren't going to happen, or at least not going to happen the way we thought they were going to happen. But we can reframe them now. We can figure out a new way to achieve them now, or a new version of the 2020 goal, or the 2020 goals that we have, and not wait until 2021.
Yeah.
So we mentioned,
you actually said that when we were talking one time. You were like, 2020 is going to still happen, right?
Yes.
Do you want to be a part of it or not? Because I think that's where we're a little bit, people are like, whatever, just scrap this year and I'll start over in January. But you don't need January to start, right? To start new goals.
We still have plenty of months left of this year.
Yeah, so how do we kind of put off our past experience and our past framework, how we looked at it, and be willing to start right now, today, and not just wait for either a new year or some other milestone to be able to start fresh.
And we have had positive things come out of this. We've learned new things. We've learned different things. We've adapted. We've overcome a lot of things that we didn't even know we could, or things that we didn't know we could just move past. We have altogether. So it's been really a positive thing too, not just a negative. So we're not behind. We didn't just mess up a whole year. But now we have to start figuring out, okay, how do we set new goals? And you have a perfect way to do it.
Yeah. So one of the things we're going to walk through is like, how do you set goals? So a lot of the work that I do with clients is going with corporate clients. And a lot of times we're setting big strategic goals for the year. And then we have to figure out how they are tracking against those through every quarter, right, to month, so that they make sure they're going on track. And that's a lot of, I think, the breakdown we happen with personal goals. We set these goals in January, but we don't really know how to set ourselves up to monitor those, to move forward and to track our progress. So I'm going to walk you all through a simple goal setting exercise and how we're going to do it. The first thing that's going to be so important is that we have to define what's going to create the biggest impact. So one of the defaults for some people can be, okay, since I wasn't able to accomplish everything I wanted to at the beginning of the year, now I'm going to put 6 or 7 things that I'm going to try and get done between now and December. That's not going to happen, right? So we're setting ourselves up for failure if that happens. Instead, you have to understand, what are 2 to 3 things? That's it. You know, there's a saying that they say, like, if everything is important, nothing is important. And so we've got to determine, what are the 2 to 3 things that we can really accomplish in the remaining months of 2020, and what are the things that are going to create the biggest impact, right? From more of a holistic standpoint, what are the things that if I hit this goal, it actually is going to affect larger parts of my family and well-being, right? If I hit this goal, it's going to create momentum going into next year. So really identify, what are the 2 to 3 things that are really going to create that large impact for you in your life, and be able to set you up well going into the next year. So if you will help me, Tyra, I'm going to walk you through just a simple exercise you can do with this. So let's figure out our 2 to 3 goals. Again, remember, you're not going to do a whole lot. I actually would ask you to set aside 20 to 30 minutes today, tonight. I mean, if you have to, just like skip one of your shows tonight. It doesn't even have to be no TV, just one, right? But like I said, just spend 20 to 30 minutes, because again, we're only using 2 to 3 goals, so we don't need a long time for this. But then we're going to start breaking them down. So one goal, let's say, could be lose 10 pounds between now and the end of December. I don't know about you, but I have put on my quarantine 15 this year. So we're going to say our first goal could be lose 10 pounds, right? So that's a great goal. How am I going to make sure that I'm even moving towards that? Well, next thing we have are what's called KPIs. And so that's a very corporate lingo term for key performance indicators. Those are the actions and the behaviors that we track to make sure we're on target for this, so that we don't get to December and just like hope, well, did we lose 10 pounds? I don't know. Let's hope for the best. No.
How are we going to get there?
Yes.
How do I make sure this happens?
Yes, so some people like to look at milestones. I like to look at the key performance indicators because those are your little behaviors, right? You want to make sure that one, you have a goal that is attainable and that you can measure, right? So losing 10 pounds. What are the behaviors I can do daily? So the first one could be, I'm going to drink maybe 90 ounces of water every day. So I'm going to track this. I can track whether or not I drank my 90 ounces of water. There's different ways you can do that, but that's one. So I can know, okay, I'm on track there. Maybe the other one is I work out 3 times a week. So 3 times a week, I either go to the gym or I work out in my house. You have to figure out what works for you. But how am I going to do that, right? Maybe the other one is I'm going to get 10,000 steps a day, right? That's one that I can start doing. So how do I get my 10,000 steps a day? And then how do I make sure I'm tracking? This is part of the accountability. So we may have to move it up just a little bit, but the next one would be I'm going to weigh myself. So I'm going to weigh myself every week at the same time, same day. If you can't see that there. So that one is weighing myself. So that one's important because that way we know if we're on track. So if I weigh myself at the end of the first week and I've done nothing, right, then, okay, maybe I need to move this to 4 times a week, right? Or maybe I actually just need to change my type of workout. Maybe that's not the right workout for me. Maybe I need to change my diet, right? So the great thing about this is when you are tracking into all of those, you can actually adjust and pivot in the moment so that you're not just hoping it happens in December, but hey, come October, maybe I need to get a trainer, right? Maybe I need to bring somebody in to help support me in going after this goal, right? Because I'm on my own, I'm not really doing it. How do I get an expert in to help me? So that's a lot of what we ask you to do. So
I would notice that you did like 3 times a week. You did like not 7 workouts. You did things that are achievable.
Yeah, and you can build up to that, right? So maybe in January, you go 5 times a week. Like I think that is so important that it's achievable, it's measurable, and then we can track it to know when we need to bring in support essentially. So I would really encourage everybody. Spend 20 to 30 minutes. That's all it's going to take you to do. How quickly did we do that one? You may not even need 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, grab your paper now.
Yeah. And just what are those 2 to 3 goals that are going to create large impact? What are the behaviors you can track to be able to do that? And then next time we're going to talk a little bit about support and the things. How do you make decisions? How do you make the choices that are needed to go after these goals? Who are the support people that we need? So make sure to watch our next video. See how we talk a little bit about that and moving forward. And then also there is a free tool that I'm giving away on helping you to be able to create some of these goals and create balance and boundaries. So be sure to check the link in my bio on Instagram at Kristen Pinkston Knowles. And then also Brave Leaders Group. You can find it there on Facebook. But we were really excited. So you want to check out the next one.
Yeah, our next video, we'll be talking about making the right decisions for you, your family. How do you know what those right decisions are? Also being flexible. So if something else happens or you have to change what you thought you were going to do, your different KPIs, then how do you be flexible in that? How do you adapt? How do you change what you thought you were going to do and adapt to what now you have to do? Also seeking support. It's so important. We figured out, especially as we're all isolated in March and April, seeking support is just key to figuring out how you're going to achieve those goals and making them happen. So also, once you go and do your goals, please come back and comment. Let us know what your goal is so we can support you, we can come around you, we can encourage you. And we just know that with accountability, you're always more likely to achieve your goal. So make sure you post. If you have any questions also, feel free to post those, and then we'll get back with you guys.
Yep. Thanks so much, Tyra, for this conversation. Thank you all for joining in on the conversation. We hope that it has created value, and as always, love having these discussions with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.